Could it really be that we live in an electric universe? That claim challenges some of the most popular and long-held ideas in the sciences. And it's provoked a lot of banter amongst journalists and internet bloggers. As public interest grows, so do the reflexes on behalf of more traditional, more acceptable ideas. Earlier this year, we invited the popular skeptic Michael Shermer to our EU 2015 conference, Paths of Discovery. The event was held in Phoenix, Arizona in late June. Shermer spoke at the event and participated in a panel discussion on the ground rules for evaluating extraordinary challenges to long-held theoretical assumptions. We envisioned the adventure as a cautious experiment. Is it possible to communicate, even if imperfectly, across a gap that has never been bridged since the birth of the electric universe movement some 15 to 20 years ago? I participated on the panel as well, along with Dr. Gary Schwartz of the University of Arizona and Wal Thornhill, Chief Science Advisor to the Thunderbolts Project. Expectations were mixed. In fact, we received some advanced criticism for inviting Shermer, letting the fox into the henhouse, as some put it. Others said it was our best strategic move ever, but that response came largely from those who saw the event. You can see it for yourself through the link provided below. About 3 months after the event, as we had expected, Shermer's response appeared in Scientific American. Shermer's opening words set up his premise that the electrical theorists argue against science that is already settled. Newton was wrong. Einstein was wrong. Black holes do not exist. The Big Bang never happened. Dark energy and dark matter are unsubstantiated conjectures. Stars are electrically charged plasma masses. Venus was once a comet. The massive Valles Marineris Canyon on Mars was carved out in a few minutes by a giant electric arc sweeping across the red planet. The thunderbolt icons found in ancient art and petroglyphs are not the iconography of imagined gods, but realistic representations of spectacular electrical activity in space. These are just a few of the things I learned at the Electric Universe Conference, EU 2015. With these words, Shermer opened the door to a highly dismissive review of electric universe themes, all written with no personal awareness of the subject matter. It seems that dismissive quips come quite easily when one is fending off challenges to a belief system. Just remind your congregation of things they already know. The challenges can then become a subject of ridicule. No actual science needed. For many years, the EU community has warned about the dangers of self-perpetuating dogma. Yes, modern technological advances are impressive, but it seems that theoretical foundations are frozen at levels prior to the space age. Add the growing centralization of funding, and the cost of institutionalized but mistaken ideas could be catastrophic. As one can see in Shermer's review, he has little or no concerns of this sort. All is well within the sciences. This state of good health, he assures us, is confirmed by thousands of scientists sharing in an underlying consensus. The big questions such as relativity and the Big Bang, and of course many others, are reliably settled. A much different understanding drives the electric universe movement. Electrical theorists have paid close attention to the roles of electric fields, electric currents, and high-energy electric discharge in space plasma. Plasma is the medium of charged particles that fill the vacuum of space. Space is not empty, and the sciences cannot afford to ignore the sea of plasma across the cosmos. That's why the experts in our group have raised an alarm. They recognize that leading institutions responsible for guiding the vision, management, and funding of research may well have wasted hundreds of billions of dollars asking the wrong questions. In his response, Shermer reverses the role of skepticism. He assumes the mantle of a true believer, one who already knows. The guide for the faithful is already in hand and shared by thousands of trusting followers. Read his response for yourself, and you'll see exactly what this means. The Electric Universe movement is inspired by interdisciplinary research, from new data delivered by the space program to volumes of historical evidence. Anyone who wants to know can compare Shermer's review to the actual situation. The EU movement throws a spotlight on a steady stream of new facts that have caught standard theorists by surprise. In one instance after another, the great surprises of the space age are the inherent predictions of the electric universe. Simply follow the surprises and the picture of space changes as surely as night and day. In Shermer's published dismissal of the electric universe, his treatment of mathematician Stephen Crothers was perhaps the lowest of low points, just dismissive with no science. Crothers is recognized as amongst the most capable critics of relativity theory, and his criticism can indeed send orthodox theorists into a frenzy. But Shermer's own words are telling. First, he acknowledges that he wasn't up to understanding Crothers, but then he adds a priceless confession. He writes, "I am confident he's wrong by the fact that for a century thousands of physicists have challenged Einstein, and still he stands as Time's Person of the Century." It's a bit astonishing to see someone cite a celebrity rating as an argument in Scientific American. For an exclamation point on this curiosity, viewers need only consider Shermer's comment in the light of Crothers' actual conference presentation, which you can access through the link given below. Shermer's Scientific American article merely stacks some EU claims on top of each other without any reference to substantiating data, so it's only appropriate here to review the scale of erroneous perception that follows. EU proponents do not claim that Newton was wrong, but for good reason. The electrical view emphasizes that gravity alone could never complete our understanding of celestial mechanics. There's no problem with gravity until or unless a gravity-centric dogma takes over, allowing theorists to overlook the effect of charge and charged particle movement at cosmic scales. Across the vastness of space, even the most minuscule and immeasurable electric field at any particular place can add up to a stupendous potential across the volume of interplanetary, interstellar, and intergalactic distances. In fact, Newtonian explanations fall short all the time, and we've provided hundreds of examples based on original research and published contributions from the world's leading experts on space plasma. Plasma is defined by the presence of charged particles. Even in an immeasurably weak electric field, charged particles easily override Newtonian gravity. In fact, we're all living in the presence of charged particles exploding from the sun. These particles care very little about gravity and continue to accelerate across the vacuum of interplanetary space before crashing into the Earth's magnetosphere to provoke the auroras. For decades, we overlooked the evidence of this until the 1970s, when instruments in space confirmed an electrical connection of the Earth and Sun, first stated by the experimentalist Christian Birkeland almost 100 years ago. Yes, we live in a rather quiet corner of the universe today, though it's not always been this way, and gravity is not the only force doing real work across the cosmos. Earth's auroras pale by comparison with the higher energy events we see in space. Explosive events and exotic electrical structures in space mean that gravity does not singularly dominate the macrocosm. The phrase electric universe comes from observations of electrical phenomena in both the laboratory and across the vacuum of space. The work of Nobel laureates and other pioneers of plasma science has for too long been kept in the back room. The highest energy events in the cosmos exhibit every predictable signature of electrical events, including synchrotron radiation, pointing to the highest energy plasma instabilities, its signature showing up across the entire electromagnetic spectrum. Well before its confirmation, synchrotron radiation from the cores and along the polar axes of galaxies was predicted by the father of modern plasma science, Nobel laureate Hannes Alfvén. Yes, the stars, and our sun in particular, offer excellent tests of the electrical perspective. Well before our space probes and advanced telescopes began to more deeply explore the mysteries of the sun, astronomers had already settled on the idea of a thermonuclear core driving solar activity. But almost immediately a mystery arose as our satellites and space probes detected a continuing acceleration of charged particles away from the sun across interplanetary space. How does it happen that the great attractor, holding planets in their orbits, cannot hold on to charged particles as they race away from the sun, continuing to accelerate up to speeds of millions of miles per hour? This is not a question to be downplayed and much less to be ignored. So the EU researchers offered a science-based possibility never considered in 60 years of solar physics. The acceleration of the solar wind is the confirmation of the sun's electric field. Electric fields accelerate charged particles. This is a well-known fact, not something to be denied or ignored. This confirmed electric field exposes one of the greatest challenges facing modern astronomy and cosmology, literally the collapse of a long-standing official dogma. The central tenet of the dogma has been the imagined cosmic preeminence of gravity alone across electrically neutral space. That dogma left the sun as an isolated island, where all of its dynamic activity could only be explained by events occurring inside the island. That means no causative link between its primary features and its larger environment, no external electrical influence on the sun at all. Just the trivial gravitational effects exerted on the massive body of the sun by the remote circling planets. The archaic but worldwide idea that the planet Venus formerly appeared as a comet is fully documented and will forever remain a mystery until that global tradition is given the attention it deserves. In every major culture, the regional language of a comet is the regional language of Venus, and there's just no escaping the implications. When cultures the world over give the same details in different languages and different symbols, it's just not rational to ignore the converging testimony. The story of the comet Venus has a long history tracing back to ancient Egyptian and Mesopotamian sources, the theme continuing through Greek and Roman times into the medieval period. As the Egyptian goddess Sekhmet, Venus was the great flame, instilling overwhelming terror. As the Sumerian goddess Inanna, she was the great dragon, raining fire down upon the land. For the Greeks, Venus was Aphrodite Komeitho. In the language of classical astronomy, the words mean the long-haired Venus, the comet Venus, the goddess's cometary train seen mythically as a horde of wild beasts. And even in Galileo's time, it is known that popular traditions retained the idea that Venus was a comet. The most striking fact is that the same mystery occurs in Mesoamerica, where the planet Venus wears the symbolic dress of the comet, the smoking star, a flaming ember envisioned as a luminous soul rising in the sky. The language and symbolism of Venus is the language and symbolism of the comet. It's ironic that Shermer's litany of EU themes culminates with two statements about the cosmic thunderbolt. perhaps the greatest of all ancient mysteries left untouched by modern investigations. What was the earth-shaking, heaven-altering weapon of the ancient gods? Though the theme is far too broad for adequate coverage here, the subject must be considered by anyone hoping to make sense of things that were once remembered around the world. The cosmic thunderbolt never looks like lightning, and yet its recorded forms are remarkably similar to high-energy electric discharge configurations in laboratory vacuum chambers, with surprising parallels to formations seen in space as well. Until this cross-cultural memory is fully comprehended, astronomers and planetary scientists will labor under the spell of a profound misunderstanding, assuming that planets have moved on their present courses for billions of years. For those ready to hear the ancient witnesses, the cosmic thunderbolt will explain what has been left unexplained across the centuries. For the electric universe community, this remarkable weapon of ancient gods provides a critical interdisciplinary bridge. It connects the space sciences to a deeper understanding of the human past. Multiple phenomena speaking to us in 100 different ways, all perplexing, but only until we see the electric force at work. Ignore that force and you are left with a fragmented universe, each fragment calling for a different explanation. Dark matter and dark energy, black holes and neutron stars, hidden thermonuclear furnaces, and much more. In remote space, impossible galactic jets held in place across 100,000 light years and more. Closer to home, intensely energized planetary nebulae, revealing exotic structure beyond any reasonable gravitational explanation. And in our own cosmic neighborhood, countless mysteries of comets. Their forms make no sense, they often explode for no acceptable reason, and their nuclei do not exhibit the water that theories require. And also nearby, in overwhelming abundance, the pervasive scars on planets and moons, boldly defined theoretical attempts at explanations. At our website, thunderbolts.info, you'll discover large libraries of evidence reconnecting observed phenomena to their electrical cause. Consider this research and you'll discover for yourself that we do indeed live in an electric universe. Earlier this year, we invited the popular skeptic Michael Shermer to our EU 2015 conference, Paths of Discovery. The event was held in Phoenix, Arizona in late June. Shermer spoke at the event and participated in a panel discussion on the ground rules for evaluating extraordinary challenges to long-held theoretical assumptions. We envisioned the adventure as a cautious experiment. Is it possible to communicate, even if imperfectly, Could it really be that we live in an electric universe? That claim challenges some of the most popular and long-held ideas in the sciences. And it's provoked a lot of banter amongst journalists and internet bloggers. As public interest grows, so do the reflexes on behalf of more traditional, more acceptable ideas. Usually from those who saw the event. You can see it for yourself through the link provided below. About 3 months after the event, as we had expected, Shermer's response appeared in Scientific American. Shermer's opening words set up his premise that the electrical theorists argue against science that is already settled. Newton was wrong. Einstein was wrong. Black holes do not exist. The Big Bang never happened. Dark energy and dark matter are unsubstantiated conjectures. Stars are electrically charged plasma masses. Venus was once a comet. The massive Valles Marineris Canyon on Mars was carved out in a few minutes by a giant electric arc sweeping across the red planet. The thunderbolt icons found in ancient art and petroglyphs are not the iconography of imagined gods, but realistic representations of spectacular electrical activity in space. Across a gap that has never been bridged since the birth of the electric universe movement some 15 to 20 years ago. I participated on the panel as well, along with Dr. Gary Schwartz of the University of Arizona and Wal Thornhill, Chief Science Advisor to the Thunderbolts Project. Expectations were mixed. In fact, we received some advanced criticism for inviting Shermer, letting the fox into the henhouse, as some put it. Others said it was our best strategic move ever, but that response came largely